There we go. Now I'm working. Now people can hear me. All right, awesome. You're going to love it when you got to play with technology. You're like, hey,
Part of the job.
how did that setting get changed? So talking about technology right now, I am streaming live to you guys from using a program called OBS, and you may be seeing me right now inside of Facebook, or you might be seeing me right now live inside of YouTube. When you guys come on in, do us a favor, introduce who you are, where you're from, and what you tutor, because we always like to know who you guys are just a little bit more. So glad that you guys are joining us. We've got, I could see 5 of you, 6 of you. The numbers are going up and up and up. So awesome. Keep staying with us. Keep staying tuned, because we're going to be chatting all about technology. Now, people feel all kinds of things when I say technology. Some people, they're like, oof, and they get really scared and they get really nervous. And then there's other people, they get like totally jazzed and they get excited to learn about new tools. Well, you're definitely going to get to learn about some new tools here to get excited about. We're also going to share with you how different tutors utilize different tools so that you can get a good idea, because I think that when we get the opportunity to kind of learn and grow from each other, it all of a sudden like sparks inside of your brain. Oh, well, I could do this and I could do that. And it gets really, really exciting. So that's exactly what we're going to be sharing with you today. Now, we are on a program called Zoom. So you can see all 4 of us right now on the same screen. This is really cool because Zoom works really well with individual students, small groups of students. It does have that caveat that if you have more than one student, that it's better if you go with the paid program, because otherwise it will cut you off at 40 minutes. But if you think about it, that makes sense, because if you've got 2 students that you're working with at a time, you're making more money, and you have to think about it that it's a price for the entire year that you're paying to run your business. I mean, I couldn't run my business without Zoom, so I'm totally okay paying that $100 a year to be able to run my tutoring business. So I love it. And every single tutor inside here uses Zoom. So Ashley, tell us about your thoughts about Zoom.
Oh yeah, I totally love Zoom. I use it all the time, and I've been using it for a while. Even before I started tutoring, I was using it for some other work I was doing. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a really great tool. And whenever a parent is sort of nervous about, I actually recently had a parent say, "Well, I'm not really sure how are you going to connect with my child online, like." It's not the same as you being right next to them in person. And I was like, well, it's pretty much the same. I mean, they're going to be able to see me, hear me, we
Mm-hmm.
can interact with the screen. I can show them things, and it's not like when you were maybe taking an online class in college and you never actually saw the professor or interact. Like I was like, I'm, live and in 3D. I had one student tell me I have too much personality. So I always tell people, some people say I have too much personality. So I think we're fine.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they do have that fear. I find that the people that have the biggest fear just have never tried it.
Yeah,
And then as
for
soon
sure.
as they try it, they love it and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool." And they start telling all their friends about it.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so makes it cool. And we have Sindhu has said, "Hello, Kathy, Joanne, Ashley, Alan, and Kathy's Curious Cat." Hi, Curious Cat. What is Curious Cat's name, Kathy?
Uh, this one is Little Missy.
Little Missy.
Yeah, she likes to sit here next to me and just stare at me while I tutor. And the kids love it because they know the different cats, but sometimes you got to be aware there might be a cat fight.
Oh
So,
no. There'll be no curious cats joining me today because I'm in another location. So
Well, there you go.
cool.
And that's the cool thing about online tutoring is that you could be in any location that you would like to. All I
that's
have to
right.
do, you guys, when I travel now, and I still am doing my tutoring or working with other tutors, I just bring my laptop with me and I have everything that I need right there. I don't have to carry. When I was a tutor, I always had to carry like my bag of stuff. Did anybody have a bag of stuff?
Yeah.
I always had a bag of stuff,
I
books
had
and
too much stuff.
oh my gosh. It hurt the shoulder. I just remember it like weighing me down. And now it's like my teeny weeny little computer that probably weighs less than 4 pounds that I take with me and throw into my backpack, and we're good to go. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I just was talking about this with a client who I brought on last week because she was like, well, she just wanted to know more about it. And I was saying how I think I'm actually a better teacher online because it's so much more dynamic, and how, like, if I was going to a client's house, I only had the resources that I had with me. And so if something came up, it had to wait until next week to address it unless I had the resource. But when I'm teaching online, I have everything right at my fingertips. So there's no missed opportunities.
Right. Those teachable moments are even more powerful at this point in time because of the technology that we have at our fingertips. We also don't have to deal with the red tape of schools either. I remember, like, I wasn't allowed to show certain videos unless I had gone through the approval process. And, it's just that takes time out of the actual teaching that needs to happen and stops the ability from being able to do what you need to do. So, this is awesome that you can utilize those videos that are going to help with your instruction, or even like images for vocabulary, right? Like if we're learning a new vocabulary word, I can just like pull up that word and now I have an image that goes with it. And that's a lot easier to teach with than a random definition.
Right.
Right. Oh my gosh. So we got lots of people to say hello to. We've got Max Pavlovsky in the house, Ramona, we've got Beth, Suzanne, Jim. So glad you guys are here with us. We've got Simony, we've got Sindhu. So glad that you guys are all here and joining us. And feel free, you guys, I'd love to know, what is your favorite tech? Those of you guys that are joining us, type in what is your favorite tech that you like to use to be able to tutor online. So it can be websites that you love to be able to use, or resources you use for actual tutoring in and of itself. Now we've got Alan Sow here, who also works with math and high school students. And sometimes, do you work with college students as well? Or is it
it's a mix of college and high school students. So usually more engineers or business statistics is my college student demographic. Yeah.
Awesome. And you use Zoom as well. What are your thoughts about Zoom?
I like Zoom. So I do a mix. Some students, I just use the bit paper if they're on a computer directly, but I have a few students who are on iPads, and I found Zoom just works better because the browser sometimes is a little finicky on iPads. Like especially if you switch away from the browser, like it might drop the call and stuff like that. So Zoom has been really reliable on that. I also like the fact that I can set a single link for that student, and so then I don't have to resend links. I just know, like, oh, hey, I have a schedule for Emily or for Matt or whoever. They have their own call, and I'll start the call. And and so it's like a one link, and they always need use the same thing. Sometimes with my students on the iPads, Zoom can screen share if you have a certain version of iPad. So I have one student where I'm more talking him through some problems because he's opening it up at Khan Academy or or Open Math or some of his sites. And so maybe he has to share his screen just to see the problems. And then if he's stuck on something, then we'll switch to me to where I can then show him what to do at that point. So Zoom's been really powerful, especially for the iPad users. And it's not that it's just funny. It's just like, I just have certain students at certain ages, they just don't have laptops anymore. They just don't want laptops. They don't really want them. This is a family, like some of them, they're wealthy families. Not like they can't afford it. They have like the nice iPads, like the iPad Pros and stuff. And it's just like, well, that's all they have. They don't lug around a laptop anymore. They don't have a desktop computer. So it's kind of like,
how crazy is that, right?
Oh yeah, so Zoom's been good for those students, and I think it works really well. The screen sharing and just the reliability of the video and the chatting.
Absolutely. We've got Unique in the house. Hello, Unique. And Max says that he uses OneNote to keep track of each student, just like you use OneNote as well, Alan. You're going to be sharing us about that. Beth said that she loves using ResKids, and I know a couple of reading tutors in the house here that like using ResKids.
Only every day.
No, you also, now I've never used bit paper with my reading students. I actually use OneNote like Alan. So we're going to show you a flipped thing today, because usually it's the other way around. Usually I have like a math tutor sharing how they use bit paper because that's what they usually end up using. But we're going to actually be sharing OneNote. Alan's going to be sharing OneNote. And today Ashley's going to be sharing with us how she uses bit paper for her online reading tutoring. So tell us, how does this work? What do you do?
Sure, yeah. Well, so I use BitPaper a little bit different than probably Alan does, where I don't actually share the link with the student necessarily. I use it more as just this like really dynamic whiteboard,
Hmm.
this online whiteboard. So if I just need to do like a simple quick word or something, I might use the Zoom whiteboard or, put it in like a OneNote. But I find that I can use BitPaper because you can save the papers for your clients. Like I can keep a record there, and you can always like drag and move the whiteboard to make more room. So you can keep one whole lesson in there. I
Hmm.
like to type words. Like if I have a student studying for a spelling test, we might type her words just all randomly all over, and then I can give them control and let her sort them and
Oh,
look
I love that.
patterns that way. Yeah. So we can do that. And then sometimes we'll pull them apart again and use BitPaper to draw. Like I'll have her like, okay, what would be something, a word or a phrase or a picture that would help you remember this word? And we can like, make use smaller text to draw the phrase or excuse me, write the phrase under the bigger spelling word and then like use the drawing tools to like draw a little picture next to the word. And so we've done that. And I also like it for playing games because if I've scanned in a document or um, if it's just a digital download, then I can put it on the BitPaper, like download the PDF because you can pull PDFs onto BitPaper and then have it like fill the screen. And
Hmm.
then BitPaper has tools for creating like shapes or they have little like animal ones on the side. So you can let kids pick like they want to be a purple unicorn. And then you just like, you click and it drags a little purple unicorn. And then like, I'm going to be a whatever, a dog today, And so you pick the different icons and then like you can move the pieces around the board or, yeah, so I found it to be a good tool for like adapting things that I might do if I was in person. Like it has a lot of capability to like make that possible online. So
That's
I think
so cool.
there are things you can do like on OneNote. Like I could download the PDF, but then like I find that I use a lot of different tools, but
Yes.
BitPaper I feel like the most range. Like
Okay.
I can do so much on BitPaper. So
Yeah.
I don't find like, oh, I wish I could do. The only thing, this is my only complaint, and I should email them, is that you can't like tack the PDF to the screen like in one place. Like it's possible for a student to like click the PDF and then click their piece they're trying to move, and they could accidentally click on the wrong thing and then move the whole game board.
Sure.
So like I wish I could make a PDF like the background so it stands still. Maybe that
Got
is
it.
possible and I just don't know how to do it, but if anybody knows.
If anybody knows, let us know because that
Maybe
is
Atoll. Is
something.
Atoll out there listening? If
Right,
you're listening,
Atto,
tell
if you are out
BitPaper.
there, he's like their ambassador. So,
Yeah,
I
true.
was just thinking about Atoll this morning. So yes, Atoll, if you hear this, reach out to us. We miss you. We haven't seen you in a while.
I know he's tight with BitPaper, so.
Yeah, he's in. He's got it in with the profs over there. So Ashley, I hope I'm not throwing you on too much like randomness here, but I love your idea of word sorts and how you do that. Would you be able
Mhm.
to share your screen and show us how you do that?
Yeah, I think we could probably do that. Give me a second here, since I'm not where I normally am.
I know.
I'm
So I'm
not
like,
not in
hopefully
my
I'm not throwing you
house.
too off here.
Yes. Um, say something interesting while I get it going.
Say something interesting. Oh, is this a time where I should have one of those things that just comes out?
A
Like
little
people are
ad.
like, wow,
Yeah, give me one of your one-liners.
my one-liners. Oh, but you're
Okay.
already sharing,
So
so good. So I
here
don't
we
have
go.
to
Here
think
we
too
go.
hard.
BitPaper. So here's BitPaper, but of course, see, I'm not actually like I'm on the laptop instead of at home. But so let's just make a paper name, whatever, Zoom practice, and then so I just create student ones and then I save them and I go back to them. Although I will say I have one student that I've been working with for about a year probably, and her BitPaper is humongous and takes forever to load. So I don't necessarily recommend adding like we were up to like 100 pages. I had to go back and
Oh,
like delete
wow.
things. Yeah, because I kept, and then I this was like in the beginning when I first started using it, and now I understand better like how you can, you know, move the whole whiteboard around. And I was like making a new page like every time I needed more room in the beginning. So
Right.
I've learned a lot since then. But yeah, so if I was doing a spelling sort with a student, I would just use the text feature, and I usually have them read their words to me. And I just, every time they say one of their words, then I would put it up, on this. And I just jump around, like nothing, no specific order. I just put them all in. And this is my very random words here. And you can change the size too. So generally I make them much, much bigger. And then you use this little arrow feature to
just move it.
Click and move them. And so sometimes if it's really obvious what the pattern is, we might talk about that in advance. Like it depends. Every student has a very different spelling program. I found, like if the school is using like a set spelling program or if they're using just like sight words, but you could even draw in, whoops. Okay. So I'm using my touchscreen. I don't have my little tablet, but you could draw like a thing for them to sort into, and then you could label what the different things were, like words that start with H.
Sure.
That's a terrible category, but you get the idea.
Oh, not if the kid is organizing them. They will come up with like categories like that, and that's totally fine.
Yeah. So whatever they decide. And then the little pieces I was telling you about before are over here. So I just clicked on this, like, it says toggle shape library.
Yep.
And if you click filled shapes, it like fills them in, and then you can scroll down, and down here there's like animals and stuff.
Sure.
So if you're playing a game, and when you click on it, then you just, it just pops it in there.
Look at that.
Whatever you want. So this is fun because then they get to like pick. So we do these, and then I've been playing Connect 4, like with multi-syllable words with my students, and we use circles. So like, okay, I pick, maybe they're going to be black, and then you still use a circle, but just change the color.
Sure.
And then they can move the circle over onto the word they're reading.
Yep.
To Connect 4. So I do stuff like this a lot.
And can you copy paste with the shape that you have too?
So you copy the circle, and then you just paste a whole bunch, as many as you need.
Yep.
You just drag them over. It drops them into the middle. I don't know why, but so yeah, you can do it that way.
Very cool.
Yeah, and there was one other thing. Oh, sometimes if I'm having a student do some typing, like if they're writing a sentence, I have found that you can, if you share your screen, then they click in this box, they can type in the box. And I had only learned that a few weeks ago, because I was like, how do I get a student to type, in a place that I can see it? And it doesn't work for like iPads aren't as great for, I don't know, maybe you can speak more to that, Alan, but I struggle with like the ability to like share control or let them move things around. It doesn't always work depending on.
Well, and here's the thing, and I think this is probably a difference in ages that we work with. So I have found that, when we're typically working with the younger kids, they're getting the used iPads that are a few years older.
Yeah.
They don't have like the brand new iPad that just came out,
right.
Because their parents don't want them to break the technology. So
right.
A lot of times the parents will have them on older iPads, which does make it more difficult. The newer iPads play a lot nicer than all of this other stuff. So I have seen that. I mean, I've had some kids, it's just fine. They don't have any problems whatsoever. But here's a trick, you guys. If you want to be able to have your student be able to control, you have that ability inside of Zoom. All you have to do is give them control. You do that, there'll be a little board at the very top where you can ask for control. It says like request, like I could request remote control right now on Ashley's, or I can give control for my student. And then I tell my students, take your mouse, put it on top of mine, click on it, and make it move. And once they do that, it works just fine.
Exactly. Yes. I was going to try to show you how to, about the background feature, but for some reason it was just spinning and spinning. So
yeah, because we're on Zoom. Sometimes Zoom does that when it's working really hard to load Zoom and do all these other really, really cool things. So
yeah,
I love it. Very cool. And you also use ResKids as well, right?
Yeah. Like every single day.
I know, right?
All the time. Yes. And I recently added their vocabulary A to Z feature to
Mhm.
my subscription. So now I have like the Raz Plus, which is the kid side and the teacher side of their
Mhm.
platform. And then I added vocabulary A to Z because I've been working with a few students that need the vocabulary instruction, and I just love the resource. And I've actually last night was looking at the writing one, thinking about adding that in because I just brought on a student that needs writing help. So I just love that it's so um, it's such a like deep resource. I don't know if that makes sense,
Yes.
but like I'm
Yeah, it
always
totally
going
is.
in and like finding new things, or I need to teach this student whatever, and I log in and there's so many great books. They're always adding in new books, and it has such a great range. I was showing one of my parents that her child has an account with me as part of my tutoring. Like being a client with me means you get a student account so you can go in and read books at your level. And I was showing her how it can really grow with her over the time we work together, because these books are at her level now, but look, there's lots and lots and lots of more, lots more books as she gets to be a stronger reader. So
Right. Yeah, I think they have like over 4,000 books or something on there. It's absolutely incredible. They've got fiction, nonfiction. They have books just about like every single topic you could possibly think of. Even if you just wanted to teach on a certain topic, you can type that in there and find books at different levels.
yes,
And just it is like you said, it's such a deep resource because there's so many different resources as a reading teacher that you can utilize. And even people that like I know Beth teaches Spanish, and because she teaches the younger kids, there's Spanish books, and so she has an account so that she can use the books in Spanish with her students, and that's pretty cool because you think about in the beginning level. I mean, where else are you going to find books that have easy text in the beginning to work with a beginning, Spanish reader, right?
yeah,
And it's
for
got some
sure.
really great resources on there. So it's not even just for reading tutors, it could work for ESL. It's got some really great
Definitely.
vocabulary activities on there.
And I feel like it saves me a lot of time with planning too, because they have a lot of lessons that are already there written up for you. And
Yep.
not that you follow them word for word, because that's just not my style. But I'm always pulling up things and like pulling out an activity. I think when I did the reading interventionist program with you, you shared the phonological awareness lessons, and
Mm-hmm.
you talked about how like you taught us to like take certain parts of them. Like I use
Right.
this for this amount of time, and so I do the same thing now, and same with the vocabulary lessons. Like, and they give you these great downloads of printables for vocabulary. And sometimes if you just have a certain amount of, like, say you have 5 minutes at the end of your lesson, like you can open those up and pick one of the words and do a quick little mini lesson on the vocabulary, and it's there and it's ready. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I just find it to be very dynamic and useful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Kathy, you also use kids A to Z reading A to Z
Mhm.
as well with your students. Tell us about how you've been using it. How does it go for you? How does it work?
Can I show you?
Yeah, we'd love to.
Okay. So,
And I know that Ashley has to boogie on out pretty soon on us, but I just
Yeah.
want to say thank you for joining us today, Ashley, and sharing your great tips on how you're using BitPaper and actually showing us how you specifically do it.
Of course. Yes. Thank you so much for having me. And I actually had a tutoring student ask for an hour earlier because his hockey team is going to like the Final Four tournament thing. So I had to like squish all my afternoon session to like help him. So thank you very much. This will be a good time for me to just pop out. All
Sounds
right.
good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Sam, your wife is amazing. Sam mentioned on Facebook, he said that Ashley DiMercurio is such an amazing tutor. She really is. All right, Kathy. So you've got the pirate substitute here. Tell us how do you use this?
so this is the projectable one that you can use,
Mm-hmm.
but I literally, like, I'll start with the vocabulary. The vocabulary is at the end, but I'll go over like what's there.
Mm-hmm.
But I literally just text and write different things in as we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go over like sequencing
Mm-hmm.
of what just happened. So we'll write that stuff in there. There's decodable books,
Mhm.
which are awesome to go along with the younger kids.
Mhm.
I also do give the students I set them up with an account so that they're able to redo whatever books we've worked on.
Mhm.
So it's just awesome because there's so much to it
Yeah, there
that
there
you
really
can
is,
do.
and it just seems like it's a tool and a resource that they just keep growing and getting better. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about ResKids for tutors that it would be useful for, obviously. But even if you're teaching like different science concepts and stuff, they do have books that deal with
Mhm.
science and social studies and all those kinds of things. I'm a huge fan of the vocabulary that they have there. Now, when I utilize it, I usually am not in this side of it. I do like how you can add all on that in there, and I'm usually using OneNote, where I write all of my notes on in there. I love how you write them right on inside the book. I think
And
that's
the
very cool.
neat thing is, if you don't like, no matter what, when you come back to it, it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't finish the book, everything that you wrote is still there. Yes, you can erase it,
Mm-hmm.
but if it's a book that you're working on with the same kid, it's all right there.
Yep.
And then I can have them like star things. It's just amazing.
Yeah, that's so
Um,
cool. So
yeah, no,
cool.
I have to show this one because I just found this out. This is Boom Cards,
Yes.
and this is awesome. They have a lot on Teachers Pay Teachers, or you can do it through there. You can create your own.
Mm-hmm.
But what's great about this is the younger kids can take it over. So I'm going to give you the remote and you can take over and you can do the game. So it's interactive.
Yep. So see, I've now just taken her controller by clicking on her mouse, and now I'm going to be able to find the letter that now obviously she would need to read this to me because I'm of the age where I wouldn't be able to do this on my own. But click on the letter that names the beginning sound of this picture. So we got a fish here. I click on, and look at that. Very cool. So I did that even though she is all the way over there in Massachusetts and I'm all the way over here in Wisconsin. Oh, we got a kangaroo here. Boom. Got another one. Yes.
But I mean, it has for everything. It has, let me show.
There are short passages I've seen over there in Teachers Pay Teachers that you
It's
can
amazing
purchase.
what it is, the store.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I was looking up for parts of speech. They have it for every math concept, everything.
Yeah, so this is
But
not just for reading tutors, you guys. There's stuff on here for like everything that you could utilize and be able to teach, and you just need certain points. So how do the points work here in Boom Cards?
I've only bought through Teachers Pay Teachers.
Okay.
So I don't know. And you can create your own.
Yep.
But at this point, I just want to buy them. And they're not expensive. I mean, they can range. I usually do bundles, so it's a whole thing of whatever concept I want.
Right.
So it could be like $15 and it can go up because they'll have a full year's curriculum with certain grades or whatever. So it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that. Another one that I like to use is Brain Pop.
Mm-hmm.
So I love Brain Pop. So between Brain Pop and Brain Pop Junior, it's quick, it's 4 minutes, it's talking about the concept, like if you want to reinforce something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can never put this box wherever I need it. So this, I want to show you, this is Smart Notebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love this. So let me see. Okay. So file, open recent. what I found is this is a program that I'm able to have. I can move the letters, but also the kids can move the letters.
That's great.
And it's infinite of number of letters also.
Mm-hmm.
So if I just hand it over to you, you can take it over too. And
Oh yeah,
just
I could just like click there because she's given me the ability to do that. And I'm not going to write a swear word. Um, I almost grabbed the sh. Sorry,
yeah, that's what
but I
thought
can grab the
you
h. I can grab the I. The funniest thing that happens is when kids are sounding out syllables and it happens to be like a swear word as one of the syllables, and you're like, oh darn, and they like notice that it's a swear word. Poor guys. I always feel bad for them when that happens. Like, oops,
But I can use
I didn't mean to
this
say
for,
that. Yeah.
I can use this for like having them spell the words. I can say a sound, they can touch on the letter.
Mm-hmm.
I can also have them just spell. They can also mark up the words. It's just great. And this I bought on Teachers Pay Teachers because yes, I could have sat there and made this in Smart Notebook,
Mm-hmm.
but I bought this and it goes all the way up because I teach the Wilson program,
Sure.
and it goes all the way up through step 6,
Great.
meaning the board. So
Yep.
it has all the letters I need and can work right on here. So it's awesome.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and like you said, like yes, I could have taken the time to be able to create and build this, but it was a lot easier just to buy it from somebody who had already done it, and it's done.
Yeah.
And so that was Smart Notebook, you guys. Teresa was trying to understand if you were using the whiteboard for the ResKids.
No.
For the ResKids, she was inside of ResKids when she was inside of the book, using the projectable button. Now, I usually am inside of the kids' A to Z side, where I'm inside of their account. They're getting points. It's got a little bit more gamification inside of there. They get an avatar, they get points, and all of that kind of stuff. But see how like we could still take like the same kinds of tools that we utilize, but we can make it fit our style and how we teach, and really modify it, which I think is so cool. Like there's nobody out there in the world saying every tutor needs to teach this way, right? Like we get to be our own unique selves and be able to use the tools that are going to meet the needs that we want to do. We just have to think, what do I want to be able to do and how can I be able to do it? And there's going to be a solution, right? We just have to think, what is it I want to do and how am I going to make that happen?
I mean, what also I could have done is had it on both. I could have shrunk down one side, had 2 sides. So I could have had like bit paper or something else on one side, and then I could have this open on this side.
Yes.
But the only thing I did is I pressed the text, and then I found, like, I kept thinking, why can't I put it over here?
Yeah.
You have to put it in here.
Uh-huh.
And then drag it over.
Yep.
And then you can make it as big as you want.
There you go.
And then you just type right in it.
Yep.
So
that's awesome.
yeah, and then you can the drawing pen too. So if you that you have to do in here. So if I wanted to do like the base word and then circle the suffix.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Awesome. And you'll notice there, so I
exactly.
noticed that you were just using your mouse right there when you were doing your writing. There's lots of options, you guys, for when you are doing some writing. Some of you might be familiar with that. Some computers you can write on. That's what I have. I have the Surface Pro where you can write on it. Any computer will work to do tutoring. You will find out a way to do whatever it is you want to be able to do. It's a little harder to write inside of just a regular computer, but you can also get what's called a Huion or a Wacom tablet, and then you'd be able
I have
to
one
write
on the
top
way.
of there. She's got one on the way, guys. No, you've
Because
got,
it's going to be easier.
yeah, it'll be a lot easier for you to be able to write, and so it's like, but that doesn't need to stop you from being able to tutor right now.
I mean, I can do it. And I mean, I have kids that I've like with iPads or with their computer, and they take it over.
Mhm.
And the iPads, yeah, they can write right on.
Yep, with their
Right
finger.
on. Yep.
Yep, that's
So
very
that's
cool.
cool.
That
But
is
yeah,
very,
it's
very
the
cool.
projectable is what I use because it takes up the whole screen.
Mm-hmm. I
So that's
love it.
nice.
I love it. I love it.
And the nice thing you can do is assign right there.
Uh-huh.
Like once you're going into the book or while you're in the book,
Mm-hmm.
you can assign to their account.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that part.
And they could go back in and then reread it after your time
Yep.
together. So now they're familiar with the book. They can go on in. They can read it and do all
Yep.
that kind of really awesome stuff. Stacy Stessman over in Facebook was wondering if you can find the link for the Teachers Pay Teachers letter package you bought, that Wilson package, and post that inside of the Facebook group. That would
Sure.
be
Is it the
awesome.
ultimate, the
The
inside?
ultimate. Yep, it's in the ultimate
Okay.
support group. Yep. So we will get that for you, Stacy, so that you can have that available to you. Now, Alan uses bit paper with his math, along with he also uses OneNote. So, Alan, share with us how you use OneNote with your online tutoring business.
Yeah, so it's for me, it's just different students. When I use Zoom, I tend to use OneNote more often, or if I have students on Wyzant, I tend to use that. It's just more of a, if I have some issues with BitPaper more than anything, that I find that OneNote is a little bit better. The things that I do in OneNote are very similar to the things that I do on BitPaper, but it's a little bit better organizationally. BitPaper things are like more temporary because while the links are permanent, they tend to go slow and eventually are impossible to load because they just sort of disappear after a while, or it takes like so long that you're never going to look at it again. It's also really hard to like remember all the BitPapers that you've created for all of your previous students, because I create one for every lesson. So for some students, if they like better organization or more notes and I want to do it, then I tend to do it. And my sessions, because I'm with the older students, high school, college, they tend to be more me explanatory and them seeing me do the work. I don't need to observe their work necessarily as much. So a lot of times they're just working on pencil and paper and they're doing a problem, and I'm saying like, okay, what did you get? And then I ask them to like say, walk me through what you were doing, rather than them interacting with it. So it is more of a, it is like a different, because of the age range, it's just different. That's why I probably never run into, like, I've never given control of my computer to someone with an iPad, nor have I tried, because they don't need that level of functionality. They just need to see like how I explain things.
Sure.
So I can talk a little bit about like what are the features that I like about OneNote. I actually do like it a little bit better than BitPaper. The only disadvantage is they can't write on it, right? Because it's, but if it's just me explaining something and them seeing me walk through it, then I find OneNote better. And all my YouTube videos I create, I use OneNote also as the whiteboard that I draw on.
Oh, very interesting.
I don't need an interaction with someone else, right? So
right.
So I'll share my screen. I'll show you kind of how I have it organized here.
This is so cool.
So first thing is there's different hierarchies in OneNote that you have to learn, which is little. So you have notebooks, right? And that's over here. I have a tutoring notebook. Okay. But I have other notebooks that are for different like class types or videos that I create.
Sure.
But I just have one tutoring notebook for all my students. And then I have sections you can see here, and these are for the various students that I use for OneNote. These are typically my active students. Occasionally I will, if I have a student is like done, then I'll move this to like this one. I have a tutoring archive. And so that's for my own reference. If it's like, okay, this is a student I don't have anymore. That was one. But like, if I don't have that student anymore, then I might just put it somewhere else because maybe I want to refer it later for some reason. I don't know. Just the kinds of problems that I had before. So you can add a section. So I'm going to create this new student here, whatever name. And then just to show, like within each section, like for example, this is someone I meet with a lot. I have it by date on when we did the sessions. Right. So I have sessions here and different dates, and this guy I'm doing a lot of probability with. So let's put it to today's date. So I'm starting a new student. I have the sessions, and once I have it all organized, I click this to hide it so it doesn't take up so much space.
Exactly.
So.
Yep. Me too.
And at this point, with the sharing screen, just like you're seeing, you can see me draw. You know, I can do math equations as necessary, and that's just with my my normal writing tablet. But you can also import things like, say, PDFs. So I grabbed a sample file. So this is a PDF file. This is this is a free response questions for calculus. And if I just drag and drop, if I do insert as printout, it will load up. Oh, it crashed. That happens sometimes. I don't know why. Probably with Zoom, but like, let's try that again.
Sure.
So it says insert printout, and you see the whole file is now inserted as one giant file. That now it's a PDF file that now I can mark up. I can point out things to be like how we read through the problem and things like that. And it's nice. So like that's one way you can drag it. It also works for images. So this is I've zoomed it in to where like this is a good size, you know, for me to work out problems with them.
Right.
And if you feel like, hey, I have too many pages, or I like, you know, I don't need this part, you can select it and just hit delete, and then or erase it. And then you just scroll down, and it's sort of infinitely extendable. Like as you add stuff to the bottom, you can scroll more towards the bottom. So there's no limit to the size of the page. You just scroll up and down as necessary. And so that's what I do. And then I would just go there, and then you click your pens. You can customize the colors you want for the different pens, you know, so I have a green one and everything like that. And that one's a little bit nicer because bit paper I find to be a little slow changing colors, to be honest. There's like a few extra clicks I got to do. I got to like open up the palette. I got to click on the color. I got to close the palette. So like here, it's a little bit easier to change pens and thicknesses maybe if you want it. I don't have any that are like extra thick, but if you wanted to adjust the thickness, I could make a thick pen or something like that. So you could. So, you know, just have them at your disposal to like switch between things. I find is pretty useful.
Absolutely.
And then I can show you if I were to, let's do one more. I had a student send me an image because sometimes they're not PDFs, they're images.
Right.
You know, this is a student who just took a picture of a problem, and I can adjust the size if I want it bigger or smaller just to make it fit on the screen correctly. And then just like that, we're off and running again. So with these problems, and I can walk it through. And what's nice is like usually these pictures are vertical. I have space over here to explain my work, right? Like take advantage of that kind of the real estate. And so I will sometimes mark up things to be like, hey, when I'm talking about this, we're doing that, or you know, how do we break down this kind of problem? And I'll just, you know, I'll write it over here, and it keeps it well organized, I find, on the space.
It really does. And a lot of people, they always say like, well, if I'm helping a kid with homework, how in the world can I help them? And it looks like this kid just took a picture with his phone, because like what kid doesn't have a phone, right? And sent it to you.
That's right. Yeah, she texted it to me actually. So yeah.
And there you go. Now you've got it for the session so that you can just pull it on up. Very little planning on your part. You just have to take a look at it ahead of time, make sure you're able to answer it, and you're like, yep, got this, okay. And then you go into your session, you've got it.
Yeah. And then if they run out of problems or we get through them, then they can take more pictures and send to me, and then I just pull it up pretty easily there. And then last is I like how I can export it to a PDF. So say I wanted to save off this thing. I actually do it as a print. And I pick a Microsoft Print to PDF. That's either a driver you can install, or there's a way to set that up, or it's a default these days. I don't even remember. But once you have it set up, you just print it, and you can see the preview of the print is it's just going to have everything that I marked up on here, as well as the background file.
Sure.
And so when you want to create notes for someone, you know, so I can print this. I can say I usually just shove it in my downloads folders. And then I can open, so it'll take a second to print it. And then so some of my students, I send them the notes of everything we did over the entire lesson, so they can review it as a PDF file if they want. This one's isn't big because I had a lot of pages in the PDF.
Sure.
It takes a second to do that. Then I can see my demo PDF is here. Oops. And it opened on my other monitor, so I'll drag it in here. And so you can see it has the PDF. Now a little bit smaller because it zoomed out a little bit and with the font, but it fits everything really nicely onto the page and zooms out and fits it correctly. Bit paper kind of will only capture what's on the screen, so the export to PDF is like not as good in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or has some limitations at least, and then they're also kind of really wide, whereas this is more like, you know, has a like normal PDF that you would expect to see for these kinds of things like that. And so that's kind of like a nutshell. Like it's just good organization. has all of those things. Like I can go back with my students, look back at previous lessons. Like I don't even
Yes.
remember. I have so many students that like in so many lessons that I don't remember what we did sometimes last week. So I just
Yeah.
like take a look and be like, oh, what did we do? Or if they're preparing for a test, I'm like, okay, let's see what the test section was. Let me take a quick glance at like what we were doing, and then
Yeah.
I'm already back up to speed like what we were doing before.
Yes,
So
that's what I love about it as well. That's exactly how I use it as well. So that definitely helps. And I have it organized just the way that you do as well. I've got all of my tutoring students all down one side in the one notebook, and I do like that it does. It even will naturally put the date on there every single time I want to know like when I did do something as well. So I can name it different things to be able to guide myself into what have I taught. So I actually put like the specific things that I taught inside of there. Like how many times, and it helps me know like how many times have I taught author's purpose before, and am I having to repeat this one over and over again? If I've taught it before, then obviously I can't teach it the same way I taught it the first time. I'm going to have to come up with another way, or maybe we can just review it from what we talked about last time, and that'll jog their memory on how to do it. So that is really helpful. I also find it helpful with parents when parents are like they want feedback on how their child is doing, or they want to know what their child is working on. This is a really easy thing to pull on up and say, here are the things that we've worked on so far. Here's their level at this. Here's their level at that. I can give them very specific information because of these notes that I have taken during our sessions together.
yeah, I think that's great, and I think it's really key on the organization. I think it's just really, I think that's really the strength of OneNote is how easy it organizes. It syncs across different devices too when you log into your account. So if I have to tune on a different computer, I just pull it up, and these notebooks are all there too, right? They're not saved onto my computer or anything like that. So I think that's important when you're looking at resources. That's why web resources are really great, right? Like
Yes.
as we've been seeing the whole time is it's portable between computers, nothing's local. If your computer goes down, you got to tutor somewhere else, you haven't lost a whole lot of things. So yeah, the OneNote does sync, and it does all of that. So yeah, like I said, when I'm just explaining things, and that's most of my students, it's not 100%, but it's a lot, then this works perfectly just as a screen share. For the students that need a little more interaction, we'll pull up a bit paper, and maybe they can write up or they can do that. So every student is a little bit different as to why I use each tool. But it's just whatever just sort of seems to work well for this group of students. I like my iPad users before I used Zoom and OneNote, I was still working with the bit paper, but they kept dropping off the call when they switched to their Khan Academy. And so when you just got to like make sure it works smoothly with whatever they have going, and that's how you'll sort of like make the online tutoring work well for just about anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of bring up a good point, and I try to let just about everybody I know it's always a good idea to have a backup computer. So things are going to happen with online tutoring, and your computer could just all of a sudden crash, and now you've got to go grab another computer. Because of what Alan's talking about saving everything onto the cloud, you don't have to worry about now not being able to work with a student because you can't access their tools or their resources. You just grab that other computer, boom, you open up, OneNote, it's all there because that's all saved to the drive, to OneDrive. So it's absolutely an incredible resource and tool to be able to utilize. And you always want to think about, I know none of us want to have a computer crash on us. It happened all the time when I was in my beginning stages. Something wouldn't work right and all of this. And I was working between two computers to be able to run my tutoring business. And thank goodness now I just really need to only use the one computer, but it's still, you never know what's going to happen, right? You just never know what's going to happen. And so it's funny. Have you guys ever had a situation where you had to get really creative with your tutoring because something was going on with your computer?
I've had to use I have an iPad Pro, so I've had to use that, and everything was the same.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. I one time was having a really bad connection. So I was in New Orleans, and I I was in the car and I was hooked up to my phone as my personal hotspot. So another little tech tip is you can use your phone as a personal hotspot, except my computer just was not like running very quickly with that personal hotspot for whatever reason. It just could have been like a really bad connection that I had for the phone, where it was located. I was in the middle of the city. There were buildings all around me. And, it was just something that I hadn't potentially thought about. And so I had to get creative, and I did that entire lesson on my cell phone. I hooked up my headset to my phone. I told my student that day, you get to be in charge. Log on into your kids' A to Z account. You're going to share the screen, and we're going to continue reading where we left off yesterday. And it was like one of those we have got to get creative here on what we're going to do, because I am not canceling this session. And it worked. And that's so cool, is as long as you have that ability to problem solve, you will figure out any problem that you will come across. And if you're I'm not that kind of person, just hang out with us, you guys, because you will get more creative just by listening to the other stories that people have to share about it. So I'm so glad that you guys were able to be here and share those resources with us that you have been using with your tutoring business. A lot of us don't use a ton of different tools and one lesson. It's a pretty basic format. You know what I mean? It's not I need to know how to use these 20 different resources and tools to be able to tutor online. I mean, the basic thing you need to know how to use is Zoom, right? And so as long as you can figure out Zoom, you can make the rest of it all work, because you can share your screen. So if you want to use a website from someplace else, you can. If you just want to use a whiteboard, you can use something like BitPaper, OneNote, or the whiteboard that simply comes with Zoom. It's totally up to you. No, I don't know anybody who actually uses the Zoom whiteboard because it's so limited in functionality. But if you wanted to, you could. I love it. The tech stuff always I always geek out when I find out new stuff. I just I don't know if you guys have you guys ever used book widgets before? All right, so I am loving book widgets these days because I'm able to make. Now, Kathy, you're going to remember this. You remember in the classroom when we used to use we would have an index card almost size piece of paper, and you'd have a slider with letters that would slide up and down. Well, now I can create that using book widgets, and it will roll a random letter, and now I can create a new word. So it'll roll K, D, R, and now I've got at on there. Now I have cat and rat and sat, and the kid reads it.
Rhyming.
Yes. Isn't that awesome?
Okay, now I got to find this for my lesson at 3:30.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes. You know what, Beth? You're going to find so many great things. You can even make games on there. You can you can play bingo. You could do, so Beth teaches Spanish. She could put Spanish words on there, Spanish word bingo, and the kids could have fun with that. And, lots of good things, you guys. So keep sharing your favorite tech with us. We'll keep sharing our favorite tech with you guys, and we'll keep all of us on top of what's cool now in tech. I should do that as a monthly series, right? What's cool now in tech? Thanks for joining us, everybody. You enjoy the rest of your day, and a special thanks to Kathy and Alan and Ashley for joining us. And I'm going to give you guys a big boom cha because you've taken time out of your busy day to spend with us sharing, and I appreciate that. And so those of you that are in the chat, please help me give them a big boom cha. That's that fist and the firework. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, boom sha. All right, you guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.